The FBI and the Trump transition team are planning for President-elect Trump to replace FBI Director Christopher Wray.
Who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book.
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
Trump is also reportedly considering replacing him with Kash Patel, who served as a Defense Department official during Trump's first term and has promised to go after Trump's political opponents.
The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big, and the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops. Go chase down murderers and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for their next government promotion, looking for their next fancy government title, looking for their parachute out of government. So while you're bringing in the right people, you also have to shrink government.
Because they do that because this is another government gangster operation. All these local law enforcement communities get funding from the DOJ and FBI for local programs. And if you don't cooperate, you're not getting your $1 million for this, and you're not getting and that's a lot of money to these local districts. That's how they play the game. That's why you don't have a Black Book.
But the Black Book, it's not just sitting. I mean, that's Hoover power times 10.
And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on. On day one, roll out the Black Book. And not just that. On day one, roll out all of the text messaging communications we were told were deleted. On day one, play the rest of the video of the pipe bomber. On day, one of the reforms I talk about in government gangsters is you need a central node to be continuously declassifying. This is another thing they do. They overclassify. And I'm telling you, as a former number 2 in the IC, they overclassify 50% of the stuff there to protect the deep state. Oh no, you can't see that. Nothing to see here. Gina was a master at it, of doing it. And we still haven't seen half of the Russiagate report that we wrote. Still under lock and key on how the ICA was originally constructed. We put 10,000 man hours against John Brennan's team that did it. And we found out why they came up with their bogus conclusion. But we couldn't sell it to the world because we couldn't talk about it. And the government gangsters came in and buried it. All of these things, there needs to be a continuing central power, whether it's the White House or offsite, that says every request that comes in, just right out the door, as long as it's not a major threat to national security.
You need a 24/7 declassification office, whatever you want to call it. Transparency, truth, whatever, I don't care. Sits in the White House, reports directly to you, and you take incoming from the United States of America. I want JFK. I want the 9/11 files. I want this. I want that. All the FBI, and this is a tool, this is something we didn't cover. What the deep state uses the most to cover up their corruption is an illegal application of the classification system. Remember the Lovebirds text from, this is a beauty, the Lovebirds text from FBI, DOJ land, Russiagate, Strzok and Page were texting each other. They were running the Russiagate investigation against Trump. They were the head of the counterintelligence unit at the FBI, and they're having an extramarital affair together. Can't make this stuff up. They're sending each other texts about how much they hate Trump and are going to create an insurance policy to stop Trump. Then we finally find those text messages. You know what the FBI and DOJ do for like a year? Redact them to congressional investigators and congressional men and women running the oversight of their agency. That's just one example. But it gets even better. Here's the deep state full circle. Just last week, do you know what Strzok and Page received from the Department of Justice?
What?
A $1.5 million payout to settle a lawsuit that Strzok and Page brought for the improper disclosure of their personal text messages on FBI phones. And the DOJ just rewarded them. They broke the law. They broke the chain of command. They broke every regulation there is in the FBI. They weaponized the system of justice against a political target they hated. We found those text messages, and we got them declassified finally in full when I became Deputy Director of National Intelligence. And the world has now seen them, and they can read them. And that's the best form of transparency. That's why I want this 24/7 declassification office. Don't have me regurgitate it to you. Read it. Get the documents, get the files, get the memos. But the deep state came full circle and gave these guys a payday for rigging a presidential election and breaking the law. So now you know what happens. That's step one. Step two, get America the truth. And that's what that office would be for.
This is just not rhetoric. We're absolutely dead serious. We're not. You cannot have a constitutional republic and allow what these deep staters have done to the country. The deep state, the administrative state, the fourth branch of government never mentioned in the Constitution, is going to be taken apart brick by brick. And the people that did these evil deeds will be held accountable and prosecuted, criminal prosecutions. Kash, I know you're probably going to be head of the CIA, but do you believe that you can deliver the goods on this in a pretty short order the first couple of months so we can get rolling on prosecutions?
Yes, we got the bench for it, Bannon, and you know those guys. I'm not going to go out there and say their names right now so the radical left-wing media can terrorize them. But, excuse me, the one thing we learned in the Trump administration the first go-around is we got to put in all America patriots top to bottom. And we got them for law enforcement. We got them for intel collection. We got them for offensive operations. We got them for DOD, CIA, everywhere. And the one thing we will do that they never will do is we will follow the facts and the law and go to courts of law and correct these justices and lawyers who have been prosecuting these cases based on politics and actually issuing them as lawfare. We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. And Steve, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators.
I want the American people to have enough ammunition of the truth that they are the ones that enact the accountability in Washington, D.C. That is how you see a sea change. I know the people that, guys like me, may take self-fulfillment in seeing that guy or that gal go to prison for breaking the law. But that is not going to fix Washington, D.C.
You don't think so?
Not alone.
You don't think that's an important piece of the puzzle here is to hold these people accountable, prosecute them, imprison them, maybe more?
It's an example,
and as an example to everybody that's coming after them. If you do this, we're coming for you, and this is what's going to happen.
I agree in full that it's a big piece of it, but it won't fix the next man up behind them unless you can combine that piece with educating America that this is going on writ large. Because you're not going to get everybody, right? But if you get enough Americans in there to get Congress to do what they should be doing, like prosecuting Merrick Garland for breaking a congressional subpoena and violating the law, he can send Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro to prison for violating a congressional subpoena, but he can do it on his own, right? What I want is for people to get Congress to execute the authority they have on instances like this and have him held accountable there. And then I want the DOJ and FBI to be run by the Constitution. I want the intel communities to focus on our overseas threats and our border. I want all of these people that join the ranks of government to respond to the needs of the American people. It might sound pie in the sky, but if you want to fix it. I give you 50 things to do in here, but if the American people aren't behind you, then you won't have the accountability you really want.
First off, talk to us about the relationship between President-elect Trump and current FBI Director Christopher Wray.
It's a mixed bag, Tom, I would say. As you mentioned, Trump hired Christopher Wray. Christopher Wray is a Republican, a lifelong Republican, and he's done his best to try to stay out of Donald Trump's crosshairs, both during the Trump administration and after. But Trump has criticized him by name on occasion, but yet not so vigorously as he had, say, people like Jack Smith or Merrick Garland. But Trump has gone after the FBI, particularly once the investigations picked up and the Mar-a-Lago raid. Trump has had nothing good to say about the FBI during Wray's tenure, although I've been told that privately, occasionally, Trump has said nice things about Christopher Wray. But it looks like the bottom line is there's so much momentum to get a new leader at the FBI under Donald Trump that Wray may not survive.
All right, so let's go to the next step here. Who is Kash Patel, and how did he get into Trump's orbit?
Kash Patel is like the living personification of MAGA conspiracy theories about the national security state. He believes that there are criminals inside the FBI and the CIA, and he said this, who should be prosecuted, who have been punishing Donald Trump and his friends. Now, he came to the fore as a Republican staffer on the House Intelligence Committee trying to do battle against the Mueller investigation early in Donald Trump's term, and then Trump hired him. He became a DOD employee, an intelligence employee. At one point towards the end of the Trump administration, Donald Trump tried to make him the deputy CIA director, and that was so objectionable to the then CIA director, Gina Haspel, that she threatened to walk. She threatened to resign if that happened, and Donald Trump backed down. But Kash Patel has been sort of full MAGA out there, promising retribution against people inside the FBI, the DOJ, and the CIA, and it makes a lot of career employees and public servants very, very nervous, the idea that he could be atop any of these agencies.
Yeah, so listen, the president-elect obviously was an outsider during his first run. He likes to hire outsiders. You sort of answered this, but I want to ask you directly, does Kash Patel have the background to lead the FBI? And if he's appointed, how will the Bureau react?
Well, look, by traditional standards, of course not. And don't take my word for it. Bill Barr, the former Attorney General, Donald Trump appointee, said as much when he was being considered, Mr. Patel was, for other jobs. But we're in a new world now where, all kinds of people with very little experience are going to be elevated to some of these jobs. There would be fear, trepidation, revulsion in the FBI or the CIA if Kash Patel was placed at the top of those agencies. There might be resignations, but at the same time, these are seasoned public servants. They're going to put their head down and do their job and follow lawful orders, and they understand as well as the rest of us that the president gets to hire the people he wants to hire. Now, of course, these jobs are subject to Senate confirmation, so senators will have a say. There'll be background checks. There'll be financial disclosures, but at the end of the day, Donald Trump gets to hire who he wants to hire.
Okay, Ken Delaney, we thank you for that, all that analysis and reporting.